Hello, Connective. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Comment, subscribe, and like without smashing anything, and let's get into this energy. This is a collective reading for Libra. Libra, I shot your reading last month with everybody else's, and a gremlin came and threw it into an active volcano. So now we have to shoot it again. We did a little bit different this time. I have already pulled your overall energy, kind of been sitting in your overall energy before this reading. We have one Akashic tarot card on the table, and then we also have a spiritual awakening deck that we now have a card on the table. So we're going to get into that in a second. And then anything that pops out, because I still go for jumpers on those decks, I kind of put as an energy that we want to use. So overall energy of the reading up top, and then to the right, the energy that we want to use to get through this situation, whatever it is. I'm not being shown if it's work, love, or life. It looks like it could be any of those things. Some of you will probably really identify with this with work, or if you're like the head of a household, then and you're like having trouble with the household, you might identify with this in more of like a family or personal capacity. And again, it could be any situation at all. There's a lot of things that fit here with what's already going on. So I just want to get a few energy cards on the table, and then we'll talk about what we already have on the table, and then we'll kind of go from there. There will be an extended. We're going to pull the blind spot in the extended. So if this is your reading, it resonates with you, you can meet us over there afterwards. Yeah, see, okay. I'm getting several storylines. So for some of you, this is work. For some of you, this is a head of household situation where you're having trouble with the household. And then for some of you, this is a spiritual awakening. Yeah. Looking for one more maybe. If not, then I don't think we'll pull another one. But I am going to go through it one more time with the energy cards. And then we'll take a look at these other cards here that are on the table. Just one more. No, one more. Not today. All right. Okay. All right. So first things first, the law that we're working with is the law of power. Remember the truth of who you are. It's almost like we're doing this a little backwards because these other cards are going to make more sense once we go through it. Now this one is card number 16. This is the one from the Akashic deck, Caught in the Ruins. So I don't know how well you can see it, but those people are in it like it's almost like a self-imposed prison because there's no roof on it. So they could easily climb out. Well, maybe not easily, but they definitely would have to do some work to get themselves out of that situation. Nobody really has to come. And then they have like a forest on one side that they could run to, and then they have like this castle in the background, this castle that's basically in ruins back there. Why did I bring up the castle? Well, because the other energy that you have from the Akashic deck here, which is kind of like the underlying energy that you want to use to get through this situation, is actually the Queen of Keys. And I think it's really interesting that I'm getting the feeling that you have to kind of embody this person to get out of that. And then over here, like I said, you have this law of power. So obviously if you're a queen, you already have power, right? Or you should anyway. I mean, if your castle's in ruins, you might not have any power, but you might still be a queen. And this is telling you to embody that energy that when you're trying to get through this particular situation. I'm kind of taking it like as on your own power, because again, you kind of have to get out of this self-imposed prison, which is those, it's not just you're in the ruins, you're caught in the ruins. So with the law of power, the two laws that we kind of want to use or like kind of pay attention to help get us out of this situation is, there's two of them that came out. The first one is the law of perfection. Choose to view life in all its glory. So for a work scenario, I mean, it could even be like a head of household thing. You know, it's almost like for a head of household, I almost feel like you're not really getting the respect that you deserve kind of thing. But at the same time, I think this law of perfection is trying to say that either you're looking at the situation in a way to where you expect it to be a certain way and it's not, and for you, that's perfection. If you have multiple people in a household or even in a job, that might not be perfection to them. And so you might be working towards something that someone else is working towards something else, and you guys could be on the same team. So this card is kind of telling you to kind of let go of that, that to accept it even if it doesn't seem perfect, and to maybe not impose perfection on it because it's not necessarily helping you out, right? The law of growth. Be steadfast in your faith and stay the course. So again, it's part of it is kind of saying like you might have to grow a little bit to get out of these ruins. Like if you're trying to, let's say at work, step into like a supervisory position or something like that, or you're maybe already the boss, but you have something like difficult that you need to do in your job. These cards are kind of telling you that it doesn't have to be perfect, and it's okay to start somewhere and then sort of work yourself up. You know, it would be weird if you wanted to set a goal and then all of a sudden you were just there. Everybody would be doing it. So we also have the fourth chakra, which is Archangel Raphael. So this queen that we're supposed to embody so that we can kind of, you know, embrace the law of power and use it to like what we want to do in this situation. She's like earth energy, but she leads with her heart. So as part of whatever it is you're trying to do, even if it's in a job, this card is basically telling you to lead with your heart. And now we have the heart chakra on the table. So again, if you're in a situation where you've had a company where everybody's idea of trying to support somebody was telling them to rub some dirt in it, that this is telling you that this is going in another direction and that you may not necessarily want to fight it because it's a possibility that it was barely working on its own malfunctionally or dysfunctionally to the point where you might have thought that it was going pretty well, but everybody was so fed up they were getting ready to get out of there. And again, you're thinking it's perfect and somebody else is not. So you have this heart chakra. This is telling you to listen to your heart. If something doesn't seem right, it's not. It doesn't matter what people do when they nod and smile and tell you everything's fine. I'm going to put the Queen of Keys back over here because we do still need to pull some more cards. But we also have the door to personal healing and happiness. So again, this is a lot of times about getting over the stuff that we've been through in the past so that we can move forward in a direction that is more appealing, more aligned with what we want to do, right? It would be very easy to kind of like just assume that even though there's no roof over my head that I really can't go anywhere. I just can't go anywhere. There's nowhere to go, right? Which in truth is if we exercised our own power, we could go anywhere. We could go everywhere, right? Once we realize that, we kind of go, okay, I don't have to sit in here anymore. Let me just go. Then this starts to happen. As long as I want to sit in there, not necessarily. It depends. But I just, you know, how far can I grow inside that jail cell for real? There's nothing to learn in there. I probably sat there long enough to learn everything I needed to learn, right? And then we have, is this the healer? Yeah, healer of the ages. So again, door to personal healing and happiness. You do have to kind of heal to become the healer. But again, this is part of being that queen and being in power, even though the castle is in ruins. We don't necessarily need the castle and we don't need perfection. All we need to do is recognize our power and grow. So let's see what Alice has to say about this. See if we can get some jumpers on this. And again, our heart chakra, it's not saying, oh, you know, just pay attention to your heart. This kind of seems like it might be a little bit of work for you to actually use your heart as you're trying to navigate through this situation. Again, you know, when we're trying to go through earth energy and we're going through power, we tend to be sometimes a little bit more, well, a little bit less about our heart. Let's just put it that way. You know, and I feel like to a certain extent, this growth card, I mean, we've got the lion on there. So I feel like we've also got a little bit of fire energy in here on this too, which I feel like we'd kind of have to. It's almost like you got to light a fire under their butts just to get them to come out of the jail. So you've got earth, fire, and I always talk about he's playing with fire. He's got the elements there. see if anything else jumps out at me here. The only other thing that I'm getting as well is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Your version of perfect, somebody else's version of perfect, it's a concept. Something you can argue about for 1,000 years. If you're trying to hold yourself to that standard and you're trying to put yourself in a position of power, or you're trying to like put yourself in a better position in a situation that may not be like 100% what you want it to be right now. I mean, you're literally sitting in jail is the energy of this reading. In a self-imposed jail, by the way. You might want to consider that that idea that you might have about how you want it to go might not. That could be the thing that's holding you back. Let's just put it that way. It's kind of like fighting the way it's actually trying to go. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, in this situation, somebody is definitely on a spiritual awakening. It could be that they're stuck. Well, I'm just going to take them all. It could be that they're stuck. They don't know how to move forward. Again, this is talking about your own power. We talk about this all the time in spiritual, like when we're talking about, you know, trying to assert ourselves or trying to get stronger in our spiritual gifts. We're always talking about our own power. It's literally the first thing I thought of when that card popped up. But, you know, we also have this queen and we have the ruins and perfection and growth. Literally could be anything. Heart chakra has to go with the queen. So again, could be anything, work, love, life. I mean, some people do take things to heart at work, so it's not necessarily all about work here. Again, it could be, but we have this, the healer of the ages, and the other card that we saw was messages for a rabbit. So this is my empath card. And a lot of times this is my Lightworker card, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember what the other card was, but I want to say the other one is playing with the other elements. So empath, Lightworker kind of thing, door to personal healing and happiness, heart chakra on the table, which all goes together separate from all this stuff over here, right? And then we have the idea of impossible things, which is kind of like what we were talking about perfection and getting stuck on something that may or may not be what it really is because somebody is talking nonsense and you're telling yourself, oh, this is the way it should be, and it's not going that way and you're trying to force it, or something else. But either way, it's not serving you to the point where you're stuck. You're stuck somewhere you could climb out of at any time, right? Just by realizing your own power, allowing yourself to the idea of the fact that there has to be some growth here. It's not just about being born a queen. You might need to be conditioned or to be a queen, or, you know, shown how to be a queen, right? You have to believe that you have that capability. If you don't, you can put on the dress all you want, you know, that being the queen of these ruins and just being in jail isn't really going to help you out a whole lot. And then you have lead the way, be a leader, show others how it's done. You can help others. So I think ultimately this reading is telling you that you have a lot more going on than you think, that you do need to realize your own power, even if you're not like currently realizing, like say you don't know that you're an empath or a light worker. Let's say that you're looking at this reading and it's reminding you of something at work and that's it. It could be, but you could also be an empath and a light worker that has to go through this thing at work so that you can get through it, so that you can evolve, so that you can go to the next step, so that you can be better. Ultimately, being an empath and a light worker is going to rub off on someone else as you step into your power, as you allow that growth to happen, as you let go of the idea of being perfect. Because especially in a spiritual awakening, like as an empath and a light worker, a lot of times we have these ideas about how things are supposed to be, but it's different for everybody, right? And then maybe we even get confused when something goes down a different way than it did for somebody else, but we're going through the same thing. That's spiritual awakening. So it doesn't matter if we're sitting all in the same jail cell. We might all have to climb out in different ways. But definitely the first thing that we have to do is realize our power. Some of you guys already know your power. You already know that you're a light worker, an empath. You know, you may have a little bit of problems in this category. You might, you know, people might be poking a stick at you, and they might be, you know, causing, you know, conflict with you, or maybe just telling you something that isn't necessarily true, to the point where it kind of messes with your confidence, makes you think things that aren't necessarily true when you're trying to get ahead, as you're trying to embody this energy, and maybe even, you know, telling you that that growth process doesn't exist. Like, you could just get from here to there, like, instantly. And anybody who, you know, wants to grow something, who is a leader or who is a queen, knows that it takes time to build stuff, right? If your empire shows up overnight, question it. At least question it, right? I mean, a castle's great, but if it's built with sand, not so much. Especially if it rains or something, right? And it just all leaves all at the same time, it's just gone, right? Well, somebody told me it was a castle. Oh my God, it was perfect, right? It's like that house of cards. It takes a little time. That's what this growth card here is. And realizing your power is important too. Let's pull the moons and see who else is involved, or who could be involved in this situation. Let's get some more messages. Yeah, she even has a crown on her head in this believe card. It's like, you have to believe. Okay, so I just got another scenario. Some of you guys are like sitting with the queen who's feeding you nonsense. Sorry. You might be the empath or the light worker. You might not be the queen, and the queen is feeding you nonsense, telling you impossible things. It's standing in your way of realizing your power, because you're yielding to them. Sorry. I see two more in there, so if nothing else falls out, I think we have enough cards here. Let's see who else is involved in this, and if there's any other messages we can get from this reading before we go into the extended. All right, so we have new moon in Virgo, trust all will be well. And wow, okay. So push through any insecurity. This is first quarter moon in Cancer. So Gemini got this. And full moon in Aries, cool your emotions. So I don't see any other, like, anything else that would indicate maybe that you need to cool your emotions, except for the fact that it's a possibility in this situation you could be what I call having a stick poked at you, which a lot of times we can be very, I was going to say pleasant. We could be very patient, but then after a while we just want to take that stick. It's a real toss-up as to whether or not you want to throw it or like hit them with it, but you get the point. So if you're one of those people that's getting poked with a stick, just remember that it does not make you a better person by being more powerful. You need to remember to use your heart in this situation. It's actually here twice on the table. And anyway, empath, the empath in us as part of our growth, and this perfection card is here too. A lot of times we're harder on ourselves than we are on other people. We get into these situations with like family members or friends. We get these arguments, we say stuff, or we try to put our foot down. We're actually trying to like assert our sovereignty, and then even whether or not it works, we feel bad about it afterwards, right? We're trying to step into our power, but we are telling ourselves that we shouldn't have said that, or we shouldn't have done that. And that is just simply not true. It's part of your process. I always kind of feel like if I have to assert myself, if you're in my family and I have to assert myself with you, and especially if I have to do it more than once, I don't feel bad about it at all. I mean, perfection, no. But, again, perfection could be an idea that someone has. It could be you or it could be them. It's like when somebody tries to change you and they think that you should be this way. And you already know that that's not even on the table because you can't be that kind of thing. you know, and people keep pushing, you get to the point where you go, why do you want, you know, it gets to be to where we will stick up for ourselves. And sometimes when we do it, we feel like maybe we shouldn't have said that, maybe we shouldn't do it. It's all part of finding your own power, and it's all part of growth. I'll tell you what I told a friend of mine today. You know, I give myself a break. If I feel like I could have done with a situation better, dealt with a situation better, if I'm the one that had a stick that was being poked at me, then I give myself a break if I feel like I could have behaved better. If I'm the aggressor, then that's a different situation. Then I can totally be hard on myself and say, you know, I shouldn't have said this. I shouldn't have done this, right? If I'm in something that someone else is perpetuating or causing, at the end of it, I might sit around and think about what I could have done better in that conversation, but I will not give myself a hard time about it. First of all, I'm learning as I go. Second of all, I'm restrained, right? But I'm not all tied up. And at the end of the day, if a conversation like that, if I happen to use my heart when I'm speaking, then that person that I'm talking to knows that. However it comes out, you're still dealing with their filter. So you can get upset all you want about your filter when you're sticking up for yourself, and you still have to deal with the other person's filter, right? So when you finally say something exactly the way you want to say it, you say it perfectly, and the other person says, you said this, this, and this, and you say, no, I didn't, then where do you go? Your filter, their filter, right? So give yourself a break, maybe even give them a break for whatever filter they're hearing you through, and then try to move forward from there. Remember your heart. Libra, I want to see what the blind spot is. I want to see what's holding us back here and pull some more cards. If this is your reading, meet us over at the extended. If not, until we meet again.